Welcome back, my wavy nerds. This is my Loki season 2 finale review. And off the bat, before I go into anything, this has to be one of the best written pieces of content Marvel have put out in a very long time. Like, it's the best MCU show they have had ever. It's a shame that it's probably ended. And yeah, this isn't going to be a play-by-play. I'm not going to be speaking on everything that happens in order. I'm just going to talk about the episode in general, what I liked. I'm going to point out some of my favorite bits. If I talk about it more, it's because I liked it more. And, add in some speculation and stuff towards the end because, speculation is fun, man. First of all, first things first, Jonathan Majors was incredible. More on him later, though. At the episode, in the beginning, we find Loki going back and forth, trying to fix the time loom, to stop the ending of timelines. He basically mastered time slipping, so he's like Nightcrawler, but just with time. One cool part was he keeps going back and forth in time and he keeps flopping, so he can't get the time loom thing correct. And he asks OB, how long would it take for me to be an expert like you? And OB says centuries. And what happens? He comes back centuries later. He goes to learn what it's like to be someone like OB. And he comes back with all this technical jargon that amazes everyone. It's one of the funniest parts of the actual episode. Eventually, Loki realizes no matter what he does, the loom is going to explode. So he decides to slip back, way back into time, to the end of season 1 to try and stop Sylvie killing He Who Remains because he thinks this will help save everyone and everything. But he fails over and over again because he can't defeat Sylvie and he can't kill her. He loves her way too much. And eventually, he just looks at He Who Remains and says, why don't you fight back? And boom! Jonathan Majors steals the show from there on out as He Who Remains. He freezes Sylvie and asks Loki, like, how many times have you done this, my dude? Telling Loki, the only reason why you can time slip now is because I made this happen. And I was like, oh my God. This guy has done it again. He has foreseen this and has made it to where this outside of time thing, where you think like Loki's beating the man and trying to help everyone, was actually carved by He Who Remains. That's insane. He Who Remains tells Loki he isn't surprised. Sorry, he isn't surprised like that this happened. And he is surprised that Loki can't freeze time yet. And then boom! Loki freezes time! Like an actual G. And his rebuttal was, what makes you think this isn't the first time we've had this convo? Which makes you realize Loki's been doing this 100 or thousands of times over and over and over again, trying to get different outcomes. And mate, these two, Jonathan Majors and Tom Hiddleston, just have an incredible back and forth. They're such incredible actors. It's probably one of the best dialogues I've ever seen in the MCU. So He Who Remains basically lets it be known after that dialogue that, Loki can either kill Sylvie and them two can take care of the sacred timeline, or let Sylvie kill him, time loom explodes, and he basically comes back to right there. That's all his choices. And he's like, nah, I'm going to change it. Loki says, no, I'm going to change the formula and create a new path because he can't kill Sylvie and he doesn't want everyone to die, all his friends to die, so he doesn't want it to happen. So he says, I'm going to make a new path. So he goes, chats to Mobius, talks to Sylvie to try and get some bearings on how he can do this. He speaks to Mobius at the first place Mobius interrogated him, which is pretty cool because it ends up being their last conversation and their first conversation at the same time, which is pretty much incredible. And he basically tells him, like, you just have to carry the burden of, pruning or getting rid of timelines. You just have to carry the burden on your own rather than let somebody else carry it. And then he goes to Sylvie. And Sylvie pretty much gives Loki like a third option. He's like, do you really want to be the person that takes away free will? And I'm just like, oh shit, he could do something else. So she kind of inspires him and he realizes his glorious purpose. He wants to replace he who remains with something better, someone better, himself. So he ends up going back to when the loom's just about to be destroyed and destroys it himself with his magic because he now has his glorious purpose and he sees all the timelines just dying around him. He grabs one, squeezes it, enchants it, it goes green, he lets go of it, it dies again. So he's realizing he needs to grab all of these timelines and enchant all of them at the same time. So he grabs all of them, straight God mode, grabs them all one by one, taking these steps back to the citadel and takes his own throne. And the throne goes all gold. It's actually incredible. And he's sitting there. And essentially, Loki's given the multiverse life. It's his sacrifice. It's his glorious purpose. He gets his throne. His glorious purpose is to be the life tree of the multiverse. It's such great writing, such incredible character development, and such a major sacrifice, and an incredible story arc of where he came from episode 1, stealing the Tesseract, to now at the end of season 2, giving life to the multiverse. He essentially becomes a world tree in a sense because it's like I said, it looks like when it zooms out, it looks like he's the tree that's giving life to this multiverse, that's allowing all of these timelines to exist. Later on, you get back to the TVA, and it's not a different TVA, it looks the same, but the purpose has changed. So they're now tracking down Kang variants to try and prevent this multiversal war. And you get a little head nod to Ant-Man 3 when they talk about 616 Jace, where, there's a Kang variant there, which kind of lets us know that Kang variant isn't he who remains, it's somebody different. And I know we've all seen online theories that, Victor Timely, the Kang from Ant-Man 3 and he who remains are all one guy, but turns out it's not, which is interesting. So, man, listen, in all seriousness, this ending was incredible. Like, usually with MCU shows, the second to last episode is pretty much like building up to the last one, and the last one is rushed and you don't like it, and it feels like it's building just for another series or another show, another movie. But you don't get that with the end of Loki. Like, yes, it's building to something, but there is an ending. You're satisfied. There is purpose. Everyone has that purpose. Mobius leaving, going to see his own life, and like everything else happening. Like, it's just so satisfying. It's great writing. It's, man, like, what a season. It's the best thing they put out in like forever, which is pretty sad because if they're capable of such incredible storytelling, why can't they do this throughout? Like, it would just make life so much better for me as a fan and everybody else as fans. Now, in terms of speculation, I would speculate that um he's become like storyteller Loki, God storyteller Loki. Eventually, the Kangs somehow are gonna beat the TVA. I don't know how. Obviously, we'd have to wait. Maybe Deadpool 3 speaks to that more because the TVA isn't Deadpool 3. And I'm gonna assume it's the new TVA that's going off the Kang variants. So maybe that's how the Kang Dynasty movie happens. And Loki, who is now just on a whole different power spectrum, maybe the most powerful person in the MCU, maybe he ends up recruiting multiple Avengers from different timelines, different universes, which would be interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, we have to wait and see. This was an incredible ending. Comment below if, you have your own theories, what you thought about it. Please subscribe. Trying to start this new path of my own in the multiverse. And yeah, take care.